Hello students, welcome to the second video of Mossbauer spectroscopy. In last video we have understood how the gamma radiations are produced for the excited atom, and then from there the radioactive atom, the gamma radiation come out from that nuclide and is absorbed by the other nuclide, which is of almost similar energy, which needed similar energy to bring this nuclear resonance. So this condition of nuclear resonance, when a nucleus jumps down from its excited state and it emits a gamma radiation, which is then absorbed by another nucleus for its excitation. Now, if the energy of the emitted gamma radiation matches with the energy required for the nuclear energy transition of the sample nucleus, or you can say the receiver nucleus, then this condition is called as nuclear resonance, right? And then only this nuclear resonance is attained when this energy is equal. Now what happens when a photon of very high energy which comes out from the nucleus, it is of very large momentum, and when this gamma photon comes out from a nucleus, to maintain the principle of angular momentum, that is conservation of momentum, the nucleus will recoil, and this will add up to the kinetic energy of the nucleus. So in case suppose this is the nucleus, so this will recoil back, and wherever it is going, and the gamma radiation, they are passing on the sample, they are attacking on the sample, there also that nucleus also undergoes this recoil. So when this gamma radiation are absorbed, the absorbing nucleus will also recoil, and thus the exciting gamma radiation, what happens is it has to provide this translational energy to the absorbing nucleus. Now we understood that it will come into nuclear resonance when these two energies should be equal. Suppose this is the sample, or this is the source from where the gamma radiation is getting emitted, and this is the sample where it is getting absorbed, which is absorbing it, or a receiver. Now these two phenomena will only take place once what will happen when these two energies are almost equal, which is not happening because some of the energy is getting wasted in this recoil. Okay, so suppose if I want to explain you it in terms of graphs, so the source energy lies somewhere here, the middle point of the source energy is this, suppose ES, and this is for E absorber or E receiver, you can say, and this center is the E naught. Okay, this is the central energy, and this graph we want that this is the energy which is needed for absorption or coming into resonance. I can draw this graph in this way also, and here lies the E naught somewhere in the center. So we expect them to overlap somewhere, either completely or a part of it, and this portion gives us the spectra basically. But this is not what is happening, because the energy of source is lying somewhere else, energy of receiver is lying somewhere else, so they are not overlapping. And to bring this overlapping, that was the major contribution of Mossbauer for the development of this technique, so that we can reduce this ER value and bring it to closer to this ES value. And now these two things were taken care by taking care of, first of all, this recoil. If we can stop or hamper this recoil, because we can't completely stop it, but we can dampen its effect, or we can reduce its effect. So if in case you are putting gamma radiation is coming out of a free nucleus and it is attacking the another free atom, then this recoil will be quite fast. So what we can do the free nuclei, the recoil energy prevents the resonant absorption. So what we can do, we can put this source as well as the sample into a matrix at a lower temperature. If we put them in a matrix means we'll put them in some solid lattice. What we do, suppose we do, what generally practically we do, we put it this for source, we use a rhodium lattice. In case you are using a cobalt as a source, cobalt 57, for iron Mossbauer spectroscopy, we use rhodium lattice that time. So we can use any of this matrix which we call, and this recoil can be reduced to a sufficient level. Okay, and then it goes to the sample and then the receiver. This sample and receiver again is imbibed into a matrix or somewhere. It is a part of it. See, we can't do this spectroscopy for an individual atom. So we can fix that atom, either it will be a part of some, suppose we are doing for iron, so it will be an iron nail, suppose I want to do. So I can put that nail, so it is part already of that lattice. There the recoil can be taken care. So always we take care of a, we have to put this nucleus into some matrix so that recoil can be taken care, and it can be reduced to a sufficient level. Okay. So now, since this probability of such a recoil free event depends on the energy of gamma rays, we can't take very high energy gamma rays also into picture. We have to take this Mossbauer effect is restricted to very low isotopes, at the lower excited state of the isotopes. Otherwise, what will happen in case we are taking high energy isotopes, there also they create a issue. So, since the probability of such a recoil-free event depends on energy of the nuclear gamma rays, the Mossbauer effect is restricted to certain isotopes with low-lying excited states, not very high energy excited states. We don't need it. The gamma ray has a finite spread in energy, and it is optimized by low energy gamma rays which are associated with nuclei which is strongly bound in the crystal lattice. And one more thing we take care when we want to bring this recoil energy to lower, we want to bring down this recoil energy, we can do this experiment at lower temperature, which often we do it. We will put the sample in liquid nitrogen or liquid helium. So at low temperature also this recoil energy can be taken care. Okay. Now it has been observed, even though we are taking care of this recoil energy, we need to take care of some more factors so that this overlapping become quite distinct, and we can get a proper spectra, energy spectra. And here comes the role of Doppler shift, Doppler effect. Now what happens in this is that this Doppler effect, though, to investigate the energy levels of this Mossbauer nucleus, now we have to modify the energy of gamma rays. Now how these gamma rays energies can be modified? We can use the Doppler shift concept or a Doppler effect, in which the Mossbauer nucleus is in the absorber. It is it is emitting the gamma radiation, so we should have the correct energy for the resonance absorption. Now this is accomplished by moving the source relative to the stationary absorber or the sample. This is what we do, and hence giving the gamma rays an energy shift as a result of first order relativistic Doppler effect. Now this energy is given by E gamma, I've mentioned you before, V by C, where V is the velocity applied. So this source is kept on a vibrator, and this is moved right or left by either 1 millimeter in millimeter per seconds, ranging from 1 to 20. We generally move it, and whenever it moves, like suppose the source is moving towards the sample, then obviously the radiation energy increases. If it is moving away, then it decreases. So like this we can vary it, and we can bring it to a certain level so that both the energy levels, this E0, you remember we have plotted, and this ER, this try to overlap. We should try to bring this ER closer to this ES, so that there is a certain amount of overlap and we get a sufficiently nice spectra there. Now this resonant absorption occurs when the energy of these gamma rays just matches the nuclear transition energy for a Mossbauer nucleus in the absorber. So the resulting spectrum consists of a plot of gamma ray counts. Here it is counts or intensity, you can say, and this one is measured in millimeter per second, which constitutes the energy axis, x-axis. This millimeter per second is the velocity of the source with respect to the absorber. Okay? So we generally plot this and we get a graphs like this actually in Mossberg spectroscopy. And in case the counts are plotted, and these can be broad or sharp depending on what is the material we are using. Okay, got the thing? So let me explain you now what is the source we generally use, and we are generally more interested in studying iron samples in using this Mossberg spectroscopy. What is the major reason behind it? I have drawn it already, the diagram for this. Now let me discuss all those questions regarding this. Now you see here, we start with whenever we start with to study iron, we take the radioactive sample as 57 cobalt, which undergoes electron capture and goes to the ground state 5/2, and then it goes to iron 3/2 and 1/2. Okay. Now this amount of, this is the percentage of the radioactive iron which is going. Let me draw it again, actually that was quite dirty and it was not quite neat. So we start with cobalt 57, which is radioactive, we know by default it is radioactive, and it's I 7/2, and then we go to I equals to 5/2, and it undergoes electron capture, and as soon as it captures the electron, you know what will form? It forms iron 27, cobalt 27 to iron 26, and this is a high energy iron, it is radioactive and it will emit the gamma radiation to come out down to the ground state. So its first excited state, it comes to I equals to 3/2, and then ground state is 1/2. So this iron comes like this. Now we have seen that almost 90% of the iron, 91% of the iron comes from this stage to this stage. The percentage is this much, and rest 9% comes directly from 5/2 to 1/2. So that means, for this also, it takes sufficient time, to come down. It takes around approximately 99 nanoseconds for this to this, from coming from this to this point. So that means it stays. The half-life is quite long at this point, and then only it comes down to the ground level. So that means you have sufficient time for this iron to stay here, and its half-life also is 270 days. So we have seen that the half-life is quite stable of the source as well as of the excited iron. It stays to the higher excited state for a long time. That's why we prefer to study iron, because it is easy to capture the spectra. We need not to devote a lot of time to capture this spectra for iron. Now this energy difference is 136 kilo electron volt, and this energy difference is 14.4 kilo electron volt. Okay, and this is the actual gamma absorption which is happening, gamma rays which is coming into the resonance, and these radiations are being used. So from here to here, when it stays for a long time and then it comes down, so this 14.4 electron volt is used for excitation of the ground state gamma iron, and it goes to excited state finally, and we get a spectrum. So this is what is all happening, and this energy profile diagram you are expected to understand from theory paper point of view as well as from MCQ's point of view. This is it comes for drawing there. And then after this we are let's discuss the rough experimental setup or the block diagram of the spectrometer which is used. The block diagram of the spectrometer looks somewhere like this, where we have this as the source, and this transducer and feedback amplifier, they are just for moving the source ahead and at the back. So this is mounted on that vibrating motor, and then finally there is an absorber display which is our sample, where it absorbs, and then after passing the gamma radiations from this and getting absorbed, it is going to the detector. The detector will amplify the signal, and as we have understood in our first video, it will go to the single channel analyzer or the multiple channel analyzer when we go to sophisticated instrument, and in those channels the different level of energy levels are stored, and then finally we integrate them and we do the data acquisition, and we have a display in the system. We get a spectra. The spectra is with respect to channel and counts, the movement of it. Now this waveform generator is for data acquisition as well as for the amplifier. So this is a rough block diagram which you should know, and finally we get an output. Okay, this display is connected at the back to the output. Fine. So that's all for this video. We will continue the spectra on what factors it is depending and other things in the next video. Thank you.